I know. Some of it's due to bandwidth, too.
Are you connected on the Wi-Fi?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good to go.
All right. Going hot.
Welcome back. If anybody digs the music that you are listening to, you can actually check out some of the tracks. I got them up on my SoundCloud account, soundcloud.com/Secrets of the Sire. So we have that going on as well, too. We're just a multifaceted show, and welcome back to all the Periscope peeps as well, too. And yes, for anyone that is curious, we are a live talk radio show every week, every Friday, at least for the next month, at 11 a.m., on TalkingAlternative.com. And I'd like to welcome my guest, Jeff Gomez from Starlight Runner. I'm doing good. Now, Jeff actually sent me some really great information a couple weeks ago. You were traveling in China, and you sent me a text message. What happened? Could you tell our audience?
Absolutely. Well, when I travel, I bring along my podcasts, and when I run out of them, I tap into my hotel's Wi-Fi and try and get a few to tide me over. In this particular case, I plugged in, and my typical electronic dance music podcast came down just fine. A few other podcasts like NPR came down. But I noticed that my favorite podcast, Secrets of the Sire, did not come down. and one or two others, like Empire podcast from the United Kingdom.
Interesting.
Fiction magazine podcast did not come down. When I attempted to connect through the internet, through the web, there was a simple sign that came up that said something to the effect of this content with an S at the end. This content contains discussions which might be disturbing.
Well, we are extremely, extremely disturbing.
And so it would not allow the download.
So, speaking of disturbing...
So, in short, you are banned in China.
Excellent. That's how you know you're doing well, is when you're banned from YouTube and banned from China. That means there's got to be something of interest that people should not be listening to unless they try really hard.
You're a renegade.
That's right. So Jeff, speaking of disturbing, that's actually a great segue. I was actually prepping this week to continue the discussion we had last week, and I'm going to get your take on that one too a little bit later about the DC movie future, or the DC movie universe future, when all of a sudden I see Men in Black crossing over with 21 Jump Street, and your name, just your image just like materialized in my head, and I said, I got to get your take on this. First of all, if you know, and for the audience that's tuning in, Jeff's company, Starlight Runner, at starlightrunner.com, crafts movie universes and story universes for different franchises. It doesn't have to be movies either. It can be any IP out there, but they've worked with studios like Sony, and we're actually very pivotal in crafting the extended universe and the universe around Men in Black, particularly around Men in Black 3. So, Jeff, if you can give us some insight, how did this exactly happen?
Okay, well, just to clarify, I'm not, Starlight Runner isn't working directly on Men in Black 23.
Correct.
When we were hired by Sony, the idea was, hey, we have this a great intellectual property. It is a star vehicle for Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, but we want to examine it to see whether this property is robust enough to become one of these multi-platform universes. Now, that's a question that we're asked often.
Yeah.
And it's our job to be very honest. And in this particular case, we said, well, it bears a closer examination, and show us everything you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And what's remarkable is that Men in Black is a truly rich and robust universe. It's not just the two films that they had and the one that was in production, Men in Black 3.
Uh-huh.
There was a fabulous cartoon series, which was genuinely funny and interesting.
I remember you mentioning that. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
That's right. And there were novels and video games. In other words, people were able, creators were tap into this universe and have fun with it. In some cases, without the J and K characters. And so when we realized that there were these interesting themes and unique elements in the Men in Black universe,
Mm-hmm.
not only is this universe big enough for other characters to star in,
Sure.
like some of the shared universes we're seeing today.
Yeah.
It's actually fairly malleable. It can, because of the comical element, you can smash things into this universe, and new things can emerge. Now, it was not our idea. 21 Jump Street could be combined with Men in Black. But the idea of its malleability, the idea that it could manifest in different ways on different media, essentially was in the documentation that we created, the Men in Black mythology.
Okay. Do you think, now, knowing the history of comic book movies, and I'm gonna just use that blanket statement to kind of blanket anything that's or maybe pop culture movies, maybe we'll call it that to really generalize these kind of superhero / fantasy / sci-fi, anything that's not a typical human drama that is Oscar-worthy contention. We'll go with that general statement. In years past, it used to be that comic book movies or pop culture movies were fluff. Josh Hartnett, famously actually passed on the Christian Bale role in Batman in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies because he didn't want to be typecast. He didn't want to be considered part of that universe and then not be able to do his more serious work. As that kind of stigma has been removed, is that the justification, do you think, for Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum to say, let's do it? Why would you do, if you're Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, why would you do this kind of movie?
That's a good reason. In the case of those two gentlemen, I do not think that they were worried too much about stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the movies they've been in.
I guess so. It's funny. It's amazing how Jonah Hill, especially, has been able to kind of bounce back and forth between movies like Moneyball or the movie he's starting with James Franco, but also be able to do kind of these like really obscenely gross comedies at the same time. So yes, I agree with that. There is that, but
no, it's you know what it is. They pretty much have stated what they had to say about the 21 Street concept. Let's face it, they're not kids anymore, the two of them.
Yeah.
I don't think they were even kids when they did 21 Jump Street. So the fundamental quality of 21 Jump Street, its fundamental premise is being young and going undercover under those kinds of circumstances, high school or spring break or things like that. We've done it. So what they're really gambling on is the fact that those two guys have incredible chemistry,
mm-hmm.
and the relationship that we understand out of those two movies is truly fun.
Yeah.
And so to take and smush it into this science fiction concept of Men in Black, which does have some thematic overlay.
Yeah.
With 21 Jump Street in terms of its absurdity,
mm-hmm.
in terms of its capacity for a procedural crime. Think about it. Men in Black is a procedural.
Yeah.
So there is enough of an overlap to make this thing somewhat feasible, I think.
Sure. No, I think there is too, and actually we were having a conversation, our little pre-show prep with Sam and George, our new assistant that came in as well too, and we were talking about how we can see it actually from a fun point. I brought that up in the first segment. This is fun at the end of the day, but is it also kind of, in your opinion, do you feel this is a jumping on the bandwagon from Sony and they got their guys involved, or did these guys say, hey, it'd be really cool? What is that, Jonah? If we could make our sequel to our sequel a crossover. I think it's probably the former. I think it's the studio saying crossovers are big right now. Look at what Marvel's doing. Look at what DC's trying to do. We have properties. People are into this. Let's make a movie and then approach our talent and see what happens. And to me, that's a recipe for disaster. But what do you think? Was it chicken or the egg? Which came first in your mind?
To be honest, I think there are elements of both, but certainly your interpretation, as usual, Mike, is correct.
This is why we invite you on all the time, because
Listen, look at the challenge that Sony is facing.
Mm-hmm.
They have an aging story world.
Yeah.
In Men in Black. That story world is hugely expensive.
Yeah.
You can't think of Men in Black spending $100 million before the first frame of film is shot.
Yeah.
You've got to pay these huge stars and huge producers a lot of money. So how do you keep franchise going? I in my opinion, it's a worthy world. It's a worthy universe. It ought to continue.
Yeah.
You ought to be able to continue to enjoy this universe. So how do you do that? You need to introduce a new pair of characters, right? To do it all by itself is really a risk. That's a gamble, to
Yeah.
two guys to fill those shoes. Anyone will tell you that is a big, big risk. So how do you stack the deck? You bring in two surefire guys. And in some ways, you're respecting the Men in Black universe enough not to put Jonah Hill into the shoes of a Men in Black character. You're bringing those two characters in to help introduce a new pair that will then take over the franchise. So
before we go to break, actually, that's a really interesting point. That's something I didn't even consider. Is this the new Men in Black franchise? Is this essentially, are we ditching 21 Jump Street, and is this the new Men in Black franchise going forward?
Should we go?
We got time. Yeah.
Okay. There are indications that have been made public that there are further Men in Black films under consideration. Whether those Men in Black films will star the two characters introduced in MIB 2-3
Okay.
has not been revealed. But I have a feeling you're going to, at the very least, get a number of Easter eggs. They are treating. Listen, the producer of the Men in Black films is Walter Parks.
Uh-huh.
Walter Parks produced some of the greatest movies of all time with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
He is an extremely thoughtful and smart guy. He does understand shared universes. He knew and understood them before he even started working with Starlight Runner on MIB3.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a lot of Easter eggs in MIB 2-3 that are indicative of a much wider Men in Black universe.
Very cool. Speaking of fantastic movies, we're going to talk Avatar when we return.
All right.
So there was a call coming in right as we were going live, so I missed it. So I don't know if this is one of your Bad Coyote Funky people. 212-563-7500. No, that's probably